Hello students, once again welcome back to Misostudy video classes. So as you know, you just started learning initial topics of class 11th, and today we are going to start something which is very simple, very interesting, and most important is very useful. So what exactly like that? Simple, interesting and useful for marks scoring, not useful for preparing tea or coffee. Okay, so let's start this particular aspect of this motion in a line. Fine. So I would like to mention the topic name as graphs, because students, the beauty of graphical representation of two or more quantities is you need not to calculate a lot. You can just by watching the graph, just by observing the graphical pattern, you can extract some information, lot of information even sometimes. Fine. Say for example, I am saying this is, you can say population. Forget about physics for the time being. I am talking about graphs. Fine. So let us say it is population of India, and here it is time. Now imagine the situation, this term you cannot hold, time you can't stop, only Almighty can do that. So time will keep on moving, means on the y axis it will always up, and if there are two graphs, one is like this way and another is like this way. So now my two questions are there. First, watch this line. What this line is telling you? This line is telling you the population of the country is increasing with time. You can't say time is increasing, time will increase. Now consider this graph. Fine. In this graph, is it like that it is a correct graph? This white line, is it a correct graph? Think. Now, why this graph is not correct? Everyone, please see, for example, this white line saying population is increasing, but from this point this line is going towards negative direction of time. That is impossible. So just by watching this graph, these two simple information you can extract out without reading anything. Negative time, not possible. So this graph is meaningless. Fine. So in kinematics means motion in a straight line, we have basically four quantities. One is distance. Fine. Normally represented by x or s. Fine. Next is velocity, v. Next is acceleration. Okay, a. So now simply I can say s, v, a, these three quantities are related with each other by a common quantity, and the name of that quantity is time. You can't do anything with time, but you can plot these quantities with respect to time. Fine. So in kinematics, graphs basically like position time graph, velocity time graph, acceleration time graph. Then you can start putting them together like displacement acceleration graph. How the acceleration is changing with respect to displacement. Here you are putting aside the time parameter. Velocity acceleration graph you can plot. Velocity distance graph, something like that. Fine. So how you can realize these graphs? I will explain you few graphs with the help of some examples, but let us first try to be familiar with these graphs. Say for example, in one situation I have, this is let us say time, on any axis you can plot time, on any axis you can plot the required quantity, and let us say this is acceleration. Fine. If the graph is going like this, straight line, it is not curved one, it is straight line, fine. So you can say time is changing, it should, it must, it will, acceleration is constant. Another aspect of the same graphical representation, that is like this. What you can say? It is retardation, it is not acceleration. Time is increasing, yes. With the time acceleration increasing, no. Decreasing, yes. It means retardation. It means body will reduce its velocity. At some point of time it will come in rest. So imagine the beauty of this representation of graphs. You can ask so many questions, you can answer so many questions, fine. So let us start some systematic discussion about graphs, fine. Actually here I was just trying to give you the feeling that this graph topic is really important one, fine. Now case 1, that is position time graph, fine. Now why I am picking position time, why not position acceleration, position velocity? See, here one parameter is fixed, so we need not to take care of that parameter. Only one parameter is varying, so we have to take care of that parameter. So this way you can say half of our problems reduced. So simple approach, we are starting from the basic simple approach, fine. So let us try to plot a graph over here and then we will mention what you can conclude. This is time and this is position, x, y, something like that, no problem, you are not mentioning the coordinates. Now this is like this. So what I can conclude just in one line, that is object is in rest. Why? Time changing, changing, increasing, increasing, increasing. Is it any change in position? Let us say position coordinate is 1. So the position coordinate remains 1, 1, 1, like that. Fine. So this is first case when the object is in rest. You need not to write so many lines. Fine. Next is case 2, that I can say object is moving but with constant or uniform velocity. So second scenario is object is moving with uniform velocity, that is case 2. Now here I will show you the difference in language and the beauty of graph. First I will write down the language. Let object is moving with uniform velocity. Just think on this. Let object is moving with uniform velocity on. Students, your first question. Fine. Now one thing is mentioned, that is 1 mark. What is the meaning of this? Actually in your CBSE pattern of answering, there are various segments of the questions. there are few questions in the category of 1 mark question, and you are supposed to write down only one single word. Say for example, what is your name? So the answer should be XYZ. It should not be like that, my name is XYZ, not like that. Fine. Similarly, few questions will be in the 2 marks category. So there you may have to write down 4-5 words. 4-5 words. Now if I am asking, please mention your name, then you should say, sir, my name is PQRS. Okay. Then another category, 3 marks, 5 marks, 4 marks, and so on. So what I will do, I will also tell you in which particular mark category how much you should write down, because if for 1 mark question where only one simple word is required, you are writing 3-4 lines, that is merely wastage of your efforts, and that too you are going to lose your time, precious time. Fine. So here comes your first question, and as you know, the topic is straight line motion. So first question is a very simple fundamental question, only one line you have, one word you have to mention. Can the speed of a body be negative? The answer you should write down in your answer sheet, that is no. Simple, no, nothing else, nothing more. Now I will elaborate you why it cannot be, but in examination hall you need not to. Fine. Now why speed of a body cannot be negative? Now students, speed is what? Speed is distance travelled in any specific time. This is the definition. Distance is travelled in any specific time, that is distance upon time. Now time cannot be negative, only Almighty can do that. So distance something, it cannot be negative, one aspect. Another aspect is distance is a scalar quantity, it is not a vector quantity. So for distance, direction is not required. Say for example, if I am saying I am moving some distance towards the camera, okay, which is in front of me, so it cannot be negative. Distance means I am moving towards the camera, that's it. So speed of a body cannot be negative, and distance also cannot be negative. Fine. So this is the way of providing the answers of these questions. The entire question paper will be classified in different segments. HOTS also, high order thinking problems. High order thinking skill, that is the word used for this HOTS, HOTS. So these questions also they will ask in different categories. Fine. So this is your one simple starting point. And if you are writing in 1 mark question only one word, only one this term, assume how much precious time you will save for long questions. Okay, because in general physics paper was lengthy. This is the complaint of these students. Never ever lengthy, but you cannot manage your time because of that reason. So here comes the second question, that is, can position time graph have negative slope? Position time, okay. Over here, can position time graph have negative slope? It is also 1 mark question. The answer you will write down in answer sheet is yes. This is the answer. Now because I have to explain the reason also, that is for your understanding, you need not to mention in the exam, and these all questions based upon the theory which we already provided you in the mode of various videos. Fine. So position time graph can have negative slope? Yes, very much negative slope possible. Reason being why? Reason is, if velocity is negative, then slope of position time graph can be negative. Now velocity is negative means what? Because velocity is a vector quantity. So if I am saying vector B along let us say east direction, so minus V means what? Opposite, east to opposite west. Fine. So because of that reason, now I placed both these questions together, just because of the reason you can easily understand the difference. So this is your second question. Now imagine in just 20 seconds, less than 20 seconds, you can score 2 marks. 20 seconds is maximum time. Fine. Now let us move on to the question number 3. Now here very specifically I mentioned the instruction, question 3 to 4, 2 marks. In 2 marks like that you have to write down 3-4 words, that's it, like one line. Okay. So distinguish between speed and velocity. Now you can say, sir, all these things are correlated. You started with the speed, then you came on to the velocity indirectly, and then you are correlating these two. Yes, I elaborated enough. Now you can write down at least 4-5 words. Speed is a scalar quantity while velocity is a vector quantity. Fine. So simple is, you can write down like this: speed is scalar while velocity is vector. Now let us count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No need to count is the like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in 5 words, the basic difference you may explain about speed and velocity. But if you are intentionally trying to waste your time, then what you will do? For velocity direction is required, for speed direction is not required, speed cannot be negative, velocity can be negative. There is no point of writing this. Moment you said speed is scalar, it means without direction, only magnitude. This is velocity is vector. Understood, it has direction. Fine. So if you start practicing like this, I am sure you will definitely able to score good marks. And this approach we want to inculcate in the minds of all of you. So that's why we decided we will pick up this task to explain you. Now here comes the question number 4. The displacement x of the body in motion is given by x is equal to a sin omega t plus theta. Determine the time at which the displacement is maximum. Now sometimes you will get trap questions. Trap questions means what? Trap question means the category of the question is for 2 marks, but your examiner will put the question in such a manner that you will be highly confused. What will happen? You will say, oh, the question is so long, it means I have to write down like 3-4 lines, which is not required. He is just putting a trap for you.